to read books in November. Hello everybody, my name is Mackenzie. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing a TBR. It's November now and it's time to read books. We're gonna do that. We're gonna read books in November. The books that I have chosen were chosen with intention and without intention. There are two books that I am going to need that I want to read in There are two books in November that I want to read that I started in October, so you've already seen these books. We'll start with them. I want to read It by Stephen King. I read 200 pages of it in October. The huge goal is to finish this book in November and help. But I'm gonna finish it. The second book that I started in October, but I am going to finish in November. I'm actually starting it and reading it currently. It's the only book I'm currently reading. The Starlight C by Erin Morgenstern. This book, I'm coming to realize what it's about, okay? So it is about escapism. It is our main character. He finds this book, and that book has a bunch of short stories, and one of the short stories is about him. And so he falls into this magical world. It's very rabbit hole-like. It's even referenced like that. But it's so poetic. It's so beautiful. A lot of it is just hanging on for dear life while the story is being told, and then eventually it's like after a chapter ends, you're like, whoa, I understood that, It's like everything came together, but only at the end. That's what this book is like. But it's beautiful, and I love it, and the prose is amazing because she's talking about how cold it is. And she's like, I'm sorry it's so poetry outside. And he's like, what do you mean? And she's like, the weather. It's like a poem where each word is more than one thing at once and everything's a metaphor. The meaning condensed into rhythm and sound and the spaces between sentences. It's all intense and sharp, like the cold and wind. That's this whole book. That's how it reads. It's freaking beautiful. It's gorgeous, and I love it. The next set of books I want to talk about are actually library books. So I typically don't get library books because I'm a collector. I like to collect things, and if it's a book that I've read that I liked, I want to keep it. I want the capacity to keep it, right? So I have 3 library books. 2 of them are part of a series that I think I might like, and so that's why I got them. And then another one is a horror book that I wasn't sure I was gonna like at all, but I still wanted to give it a try. So, library books. For the one that I wanted to give a try, I have The Whisper Man by Alex North. This one, I believe, is about a father and a son who move to this small town right after a boy has already been taken or murdered or something like that. So, I guess they're trying to figure out who done it basically, but also you're fearing for your current little boy. I've heard good things and I've heard bad things. Frankly, with the 2 books that I had to DNF in October that were built around flimsy premises, it makes me nervous to even want to start this book. But I'm going to at least try because it's like a scary series, right? Like there's the Whisper Man and then the Shadows or something. I like series. I like to be thrown into that kind of stuff. So I was hoping maybe if it was good, we could be part of that. So we have our fingers crossed for that. The 2 other books that I got from the library, I have Serpent and Dove. God, my words, this is terrible. I have Serpent and Dove by Shelby Mahurin. Basically know this book just from BookTube. I really know nothing about it. A witch and a witch hunter bound in holy matrimony. There was only one way such a story could end. A stake and a match. Now, I really love the enemies to lovers trope, so I'm really hoping that this is gonna be that and not like bad. My fear, I always have a fear when the premise is something like simple-ish, I guess. I don't know. Really hoping BookTube hasn't just led me astray on this one. Hopeful. The other series that I got is The Diviners by Libba Bray, and basically I believe this is like, yeah, I have no idea. Okay, so basically I think it's like the 1920s and they like have powers and Evie has a supernatural power, I guess to figure out murders? I don't know. Every time I hear about it or every time I hear someone talk about it, I'm like, yeah, that sounds like I would really love that kind of series. I know a lot of BookTube is torn. Like, if they like this book, they either like the ending or they hate the ending. And so, honestly, I'm not sure how much good it's gonna do me reading the first book from the library, because if the ending is the real defining book of whether or not you like the series, I mean, this was the wrong one to get from the library. But maybe we'll read those. So those library books are due back the middle of November. I don't know at all when they're going to be read, but hopefully, maybe, who knows. There are 4 remaining books. 2 books that I had you guys choose for me on my Instagram story, and 2 I chose myself. The ones that I chose myself, one of them is A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. So I've read 0 V.E. Schwab at all. I know a lot of people like this book. I know I picked it up and thought it was very interesting. So there's Grey London and Red London and White London and Black London, but nobody talks about Black London anymore. I know V.E. Schwab has like some sort of cult type following with her books, and I know Addie LaRue came out and I bought a collector's edition of that, and honestly, my thoughts on this, I'm just hoping I'm not disappointed, right? I think that's the main reason why I'll buy a book that I'm super interested in and then not read it, because I'm so worried I'm going to be disappointed. I've read a lot of books, I've picked up a lot of books that have like an interesting premise, and I'm really hooked and it's going to be super fantasy, but I go and I read it and the writing is bad and the prose is wrong and nothing is intriguing. So I'm just nervous, but hopeful. The second book that I chose was A Discovery of Witches by Deborah Harkness. So let me tell you a story about this book. When I was in high school, I went to the library and actually checked this book out, and I checked it out over and over and over again for like 3 months and never read it. Not once. I had to go and even return it back to the library. You know, it just escaped my mind after that. And then I get into BookTube and come to find out that people freaking love this book. And not only do they love this book, but it's a TV show, right? A tale of wizardry, science, and forbidden love. And I've already said it, I'm a fan of enemies to lovers tropes. I'm a fan of like, the dark yearning. I'm a fan of like, ooh, I hate you, but when you're around, I just can't stop staring at you and thinking about you. Like, I'm about that life. November is the month of escapism for me, so I chose these 2 books to feel really like escaped, you know, to just really get away from my reality and fall into something a little bit more interesting and a little bit less terrible, a little bit more fantasy. That's what we need. All right. So the 2 books that you guys decided and recommended for me to read over on my Instagram story was Something More Than Night by Ian Tregillis. So this book I bought a very long time ago and still haven't read it. It is basically about angels, and they're in Earth, and there was a murder. There was an angel that was murdered. Somebody has murdered the Archangel Gabriel. And worse, the Jericho trumpet has gone missing. So it's very like 1920s New York, but we're angels and someone was murdered, you know? And so I was really leaning into that like dark speakeasy, 20s kind of vibe, and I was really excited for it. This one went up against Half Bad by Sally Green, and it won by just 1 point. And the other book that you guys recommended for me to read, it went up against Scythe, and it also won by just 1 point, A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. I have not read a single Sarah J. Maas book at all. I have Crescent City, and I decided to not read it for November. I don't know why. I wanted to go backwards. So we're reading... Ooh, hello. That's my receipt. So we're reading this one. This is A Court of Thorns and Roses, I think is like one of her first series. I think she started it when she was super young. I have no idea what it's about. All I know is that book 2 blows up about it. I know that a lot of people don't like the new covers that came out. I love the new covers that came out. I am not a fan of people on covers. Real models on covers make me feel uncomfortable. Like, I'd rather it be animated, I'd rather it be CGI, just something else. Don't make it a real person on a book. It feels like that's the movie cover, basically. So when it was between this one or the girl holding a sword here, I was definitely gonna get the cool one with the, like, wolf. Yeah, this is a freaking cool cover, my dude, okay? So, what is this book about? When 19-year-old Huntress Fire? Is her name Fire? Or is it Fair? Oh god. Somebody's gonna hang me by my toes. Is it Fire or Fair? Fair kills a dragon? No, she kills a wolf. She kills a wolf in the woods. A terrifying creature arrives to demand retribution. Her captor is not truly a beast, but one of the lethal immortal fairies who once ruled her world. At least he's not a beast all of the time, because you know she's gonna bang him. Is it Fire or is it Fair? 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 Why are you gonna have her name be Fair and then also have fairies and spell fairies F-A-E-R-I-E-S and her name is F-E-Y-R-E? Seductive, breathtaking book that blends romance, adventure, and fairy lore into an unforgettable read. So I don't know much about fairies, and I know, like, people believe in fairies. So I wonder how much is, like, real fairy lore. So that would be fun. Alright, so that's the last book I'm gonna try and read. Originally, the plan was to not put too many books on the November TBR because October was a hard month. However, because I went and got myself library books, the amount of books that I have on this TBR is officially more than I wanted. And the stack is gonna be huge. Okay, so even though the stack is huge, there are only 9 books in the stack, so that's good. We're good there. Let's get everyone around and say goodbye. There you have it, everybody. 9 books. 9 in November. I think we can do that, and I like that alliteration. So everyone say goodbye. 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 I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you have a great rest of your day. I hope you have a great rest of your week, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!